Sechta Bava basra daf kuf hayin beis amar aleph. We're starting from the third line, at the end of the third line. Amalahu. Zakni Mari Amalahu Rava Bar Avshila Lahana Kasu Shtari Akniyasa, to those Seifrim that are writing Ashtar Akna, and we're referring to either Ashtar Matana or Ashtar Mechira, but not Shtar Hava. Shtar Hava not included in this. Ki Kasvisu Shtari Akniyasa, when they write the Shtar Akna, Iya Disu Yemin the Knisubei. If they know the time that he was makna the Shtar Akna, or gave the Matana, write in the date. Kisu, you should write in the date, even though you're writing the Shtar today, you can write the earlier date when the transaction happened. And the Ashbam explains, because by a Shtar Matana, there's nothing to worry about, that it will be a Shtar Mugdim, because there's no guarantee to a Matana, and we're not afraid it's going to be goiva, collect from those lekuchis from the earlier date, because there's no guarantee that the shtar is without a guarantee that he should be able to collect from the lekuchis. He cannot collect from the lekuchis when it comes to shtar matana. And by shtar mecha, the reason why you can write the earlier date, because there's a koil when the sale happens. So since there's a koil when the sale happened, so we allow him to write so anybody that will buy fields after would know not to buy it, because the koil went out. The etzem mechir, the etzem sale, makes a koil that the lekuch should be careful not to buy, and to make sure that there's no liens from a previous sale on this karka. But when it comes to halva, the only way the lekuchs are going to know about that this karka has a lien of a loan is only from when the Edom sign on the shtar. So only from the time that the Edom sign on the shtar, that's when the koil takes place. So you could only write the shtar today's date, because from when the shtar is being written, that's when the koil goes out. And if you write an earlier date, it's not fair. The kuchas didn't hear about that there's a loan only through the shtar. So this shtar only came out today, so you have to write today's date. Says the Gemara, but if you don't know the exact date of when the transaction took place, then write today's date, so that the shtar shouldn't look like a sheka. Rav said to the Sefer, so did Rav Huna say to the Sefer, when you found in the city Bishile, in the city Shili, and you're writing the shtar in Shili, Kisu Shili, write the shtar in Shili. Even though all the Maisa happened in a different city, Behini, in the city of Hini, nevertheless, we write Shili, because that's where the actual writing of the shtar is taking place. Same thing, Kikamisu, Behini, when you're in the city in Hini and you're writing the shtar in Hini, Kisu Behini, write in the shtar that it was written. The shtar it was written in Hini. Even though the transaction and the whole Maisa happened in the city of Shili. We go according to where the ksiva is taking place. Rabba had said, this person who's holding on to a shtar choiv of 100 zuz, and he says to the person, give me 2 studies of 50. When we don't exchange the one shtar of 100 zuz into 2 studies of chamishim. My time out, what's the reason for it? Because of the Rabbanan Milsa, the Nichalei Lemalva, the Nichalei Leva. The Rabbanan made something that is beneficial for the Malva and the Leva when you have it written as a shtar of 100 zuz, then now dividing it into 2 stars of 50. Nichalei Lemalva, the Malva is more than happy that the Malva is happy when it remains 100 and he only paid 50. So he gives the Leiva Sheva of a receipt of 50. Now the Leiva is under pressure because he might lose the Sheva and the Malva will collect the 100 zuz, even though he paid 50. So in order to avoid it, he's going to be forced to pay the headache of holding on to the sheva and it might get lost, he feels pressure to pay up the rest of the chayv. And it's good for the leiva, because now the star is pogum. Why is it pogum? It has a defect because when the malva is going to come collect with the star, which says 100 zuz, and he says no, 50 he paid, so he's made of a mixas. So on the other 50 he's going to have to swear, and maybe he won't swear. So that's why it's beneficial for the labor that it should remain 100. That's why we're not going to exchange it when it's beneficial for the malva and the labor, unless they both agree to do the exchange. Sagt die Gemara, aber said, this person who's holding on to two studies of 50 and 50 from the same labor, meaning that the labor owes him 100, but he has it broken up into two studies of 50-50. And he says, the Malva says, exchange these two studies into one star of 100 zuz, instead of having two studies of 50 zuz that the labor owes him. We don't do it for him, because being that it's 50-50, and to make it into a star of 100, he'd rather have it as 50-50. It's good for the malva. When it's better for the malva that it should remain as 250s, because if he has as 100 and he pays back 50, so now he's going to be like a mixas. He's only collecting 50 out of the 100 that's written in the star, and he might have to swear. But now that it's broken up into 50, he pays up 50, and he comes up with the new star of 50. It's not a star program. It's not a mix a star. He owes him the full star. And the labor benefits that it's not a star of 100, because if he pays back 50 and he keeps the malva keeps the star of 100 and he only gives him a receipt, he's going to feel pressure to pay up the rest of the chay, because he's holding on to a sheva that might get lost, and the malva might come and collect the whole 100. Avashi said, this person who's holding on to a star of 100 zuz. And the malva says to the seifrim, he says, listen, I feel guilty. He paid me back half. Give me back a new star of 50 zuz. They often don't make him a star of 50 zuz. My time, what's the reason that they won't trust him? Amrina will say, hi, party. Really, the star that the malva had of 100 zuz was completely paid up. And he's acting like a tzaddik. He's telling the seifrim, no, I feel guilty holding a star of 100 because he paid me back 50 and give me a new star. But really, he paid up the whole star. And then, I'm sorry, the star that the malva took out, Be'emes was completely paid, and he told him, and the malva told the leiva, give me this, the leiva told the malva, give me the star. I paid you up. And the malva says, he says with trickery that I lost the star because leitava, and he wrote a receipt that he paid up the whole chayv. But now that he made the Safrim wrote a new star for him for 50, so he's going to pull out the star of 50. And he's going to say to the leiva, hi Achrino, this is a new loan, because the loan that I gave you a shaver for was for a star that says that you owe me 100, but this is a new start that says you owe me 50, and he might be able to steal from the labor. Sagt the Mishnah, Shnei Yachim, two brothers, Echad Hanu, Echad Asher, one is Ani, one is Asher, Hiniach, Lehan Aviyam, Echad Zubez Abad, and the father left the Yerusha, a bathhouse, with an olive press. A son, if the father, in his lifetime, you did work with the mechatz and with the bathhouse and the olive press, Lisacha, to rent it out to others, in order to earn money from the rent, then they divide the earnings in half, the two brothers. But if in the father in the lifetime used it for himself, side the bathhouse, side the olive press, she could say to the ani, listen, buy yourself avadim, and let them also wash themselves in the merchatz. You'll make usage like me. I have full of avadim, full of a household, and plus avadim and everybody. So those people can use it because it's being used for personal needs. So you should get yourself avadim so you can make use out of it. And also for the olive press, kachel chazeitin, buy yourself olives, ubayva save beis abad, and go and use the olive press for it. But you can't rent it out to others. Meaning the ani has the overhand to tell the usher has the overhand to tell the ani that, being that the father used it this way in his lifetime. Shnayim, two people, two people that were living in the same city. Shem Achad Yisman Shimon, Shem Achad Yisman Shimon. Two people, living in one city with the same name, Yisman Shimon. One cannot pull ashtachev one on the other. Why not? Because we have to be concerned that maybe Yisman Shimon, the first Yisman Shimon who was the Malva, the lent to the Leva Yisman Shimon, and Yisman Shimon might have paid back the whole loan, and the first Yisman Shimon gave him back the shtar, and now it's the reverse. The Leva is using the shtar with which he paid back the chayv, and he got back the shtar to collect, and from the Malva Yisman Shimon money. That's why we say he doesn't have to. Therefore, he cannot force him to pay back the chayv. And a person who has a shtar chayv against one of the Yisman Shimons, and he doesn't know which one, he has a shtar chayv against one of the Yisman Shimon, that one of the Yisman Shimon owes him $1,000, he won't be able to collect, because each one will say, I'm not the one that borrowed the money, it's the other Yisman Shimon. So if we found a receipt between the studies, Yisman Shimon Parua, a shtar of Yisman ben Shimon that I have, that it was paid up, even though there are two studies, we're going to consider as both studies were paid up, because each one could say, I'm the Yisman Shimon who paid up the chayv. Kate said, Yasu, how do we avoid this problem with two Yisman Shimon in the city that we should be able to collect? You should go down a third generation, and you should write not just Yisman Shimon, you write the grandfather, Yisman Shimon ben Yaakov, and the other one will be Yisman Shimon ben Naphtali. And what's if the third generation name is also equal? The grandfather's names are also the same. Yichtavu, they should write in the shtar, Simon. A specific Simon, like Yisman Shimon, who's the short one, or the white one, or the red one. Borrow from Yisman Shimon, the tall one, the black one, and so forth. And if the Simanim was similar, Yichtavu Kain, if one of them was a Kain, write the Simon that one of them was a Kain. There was a mice with one star that was brought in the Bezdin of Rav Huna, the Havikas Bay, in which was written, Ani Pliny Bar Pliny Lavis Mana Mimcha. He says, I, Pliny Ben Pliny, borrowed $100, and he doesn't write the name of the Malva, he writes Mimcha from you. Rav Huna says, Mimcha Afilu Mereish Gelis Afilu Mishavar Malka. He says, when it says Mimcha, it's not clear who the Malva is. It could be it's the Reish HaGeila, it could be it's the Melech Shabur, who's the king of Persia, because it could be that the star had fallen from the Malva, and this person found it, and that's how he's coming to Bezdin. Who says he's the real Malva? So Rav Chisda said to Rabba, go out and look into what the halacha, into this halacha. Because in the evening, Rav Huna is going to ask, what do you hold? Rabba went out and he was medactic, and he found the Braisa. The time that we learned the Braisa, a get, which has Eidim and doesn't have a Zman on it, if Nishtar says that they got divorced today, so since it says today, he says the get is kosher. The get is going to be kosher, and she can get married lechatchila with this, as if it's considered the zman of the get. So we see that from the Hira of Abba Hayoim Stam, that's written. It doesn't say specific. It doesn't say a specific day. It just says today. It's mashma the day in which the get was produced in Bezdin. That day is when the Isha is divorced in front of Bezdin as a raya that she got divorced. That day, when it says Hayim, and they produce the star, and it says Hayim, that's the day that she's considered as divorced. Hanami, so when he produces the star, the Malva, Lavisi Mana Mimcha, and he's the one, the Mimcha, the one that's producing the star, Mimcha Ma'ugam, enough mashma. It's mashma from that person who's producing the star in Bezdin right now. He's the Mimcha. Amalei Abaye said, maybe Abishol holds like Rabbi Lezer, that the main part of the star is the Eidim Mesida, the Eidim that see how the get is being given over. That's what makes the krisus by Shtar Geishim. And therefore, he's masha even with a get that doesn't have a zman at all. Because the Eidim Mesida are the main part that testify, that testimony of how the get was given over, that's what makes the get. But here by Ishtav, it says, let us be concerned, that maybe the star fell from the Malva, and it's not the same person. But when it comes to Hayoim, the word Hayoim, the only reason why it's written Hayoim, says the Rashbam, he says, just to be clear, the kavanah of the Baal was that the Gedushin should take place immediately, because if he wouldn't write Hayoim in the get, which there's no zman, it wouldn't be clear when does the husband want to divorce the woman. This star that was given, this get that was given over to the Isha, had to be written the word Hayoim in order to make that the get should be chal right away. If he wouldn't write Hayoim, then we wouldn't know when he wants to get divorced. Maybe it's after a year, after 2 years, from the day that she receives the get. That's why you have to write Hayoim. But and it has nothing to do with a zman. It has to do that it should be, the Hayoim is to make it that it should be chal today. But versus the case, our case by Mincha, it could be it fell, and since it fell, we have to be concerned. Maybe he's not the Malva. He's not the Malva. Amalei, Rabbi said back to Abayil, we're not concerned for a star that it fell from the Malva, and he is a new person who's coming to claim with this star, and he's not the real Malva. How do we know we're not concerned for the Nefila? That's none that we learned in the Mishnah, in our Mishnah. Two people who with the same name lived in one city. Both were called Yes ben Shimon. One cannot pull out a shtar chayv against the other. And an outsider cannot pull out a shtar chayv against any of them, because each one can say, I'm not the one who borrowed from you. But you can be medaik from this side, but they who come with a shtar against others, they could collect from others. Let us be why should we allow the Yes ben Shimon, who is collecting from Ruvain? Why could he collect when they have a shtar? When one of the Yes ben Shimons, it says Yes ben Shimon on the shtar collecting. Ruvain owes to Yes ben Shimon. Why could Yes ben Shimon collect? They could collect from outsiders. Let us be concerned that it's a different Yes ben Shimon who found it. How do you know it's the right Yes ben Shimon who's the Malva? No, is that right from here? We're not concerned that it had fallen, because if we were concerned that the star has fallen, let us be concerned that this is not the right Yes ben Shimon. This Yes ben Shimon is not the real Malva. Maybe it's a different. Abaya, what does Abaya hold? He says, where for the fila, when it's two Yes ben Shimons, it's so unusual that the one Yes ben Shimon lost it, and who found it? The second Yes ben Shimon in the whole city. There's only two Yes ben Shimons. So that's where we say it's unusual that it's a different Yes ben Shimon found it. But what's if it's not about another Yes ben Shimon, which is so unusual? With Rav Huna's case, if the Shmei Shal Malva is not befurish in the star, it says Mimcha, and it could be another person found it, and here it could be many other people that could have found it. So there we say no. Rabbi says we have to be concerned that it's fallen and a different malva had found it, and it's not the right malva. But if in our case, by the case of Yes ben Shimon in our Mishnah, why weren't we concerned if they collect from others that maybe it's not the right Yes ben Shimon? Because for Yes ben Shimon to lose it, and the second Yes ben Shimon to find it, that's very unusual, and that's where Abai would agree that l'nefila loy chashinan.